When my 35-year-old son found out that I had inherited $15 million, his wife coldly declared, "That old man doesn't deserve that kind of money. It should be ours." They demanded that I give it all to them, claiming that they deserve it more. After all the years of sacrificing for their happiness, I realized it was time to show them the true cost of greed. What happened next made them regret every word. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The crystal stemware clinked softly as Michael cleared the dinner plates, his movements careful around the remnants of our Christmas feast. Turkey bones gleamed under the warm dining room light, and Ashley sat across from me, her smile still painted on, but her eyes calculating something I couldn't quite read. "Dad, you really outdid yourself tonight," Michael said, balancing 3 plates in his hands. That's when it happened. His elbow caught the corner of my briefcase. The leather case tumbled from the side table, spilling its contents across the hardwood floor. Legal documents scattered like fallen leaves, and I watched Michael's face change as his eyes landed on the top sheet. His breath caught, sharp, audible. 15. He couldn't finish the sentence. I moved quickly, dropping to my knees to gather the papers, but Ashley was already leaning forward, her neck craned to see. The Christmas tree lights reflected off the white pages as I tried to collect them, my hands suddenly clumsy. "Dad?" Michael's voice cracked like a teenager's. Did I read that right?" Ashley's fork clinked against her plate as she set it down with surgical precision. "Read what right, honey?" I straightened, the documents pressed against my chest. "It's nothing that concerns—" $15 million? Michael's words tumbled out in a rush. "The inheritance document says $15 million. The silence that followed felt dense, like the air before a thunderstorm. Ashley's painted smile finally cracked, revealing something hungrier underneath. "Your brother?" she asked, her voice suddenly gentle, probing. "The one who passed away?" I nodded, settling back into my chair with the papers now safely in my lap. "Harold died 3 months ago. The estate finally cleared probate last week." Michael sank into his chair as if his legs had given out. $15 million. You never mentioned—" Ashley's hand found Michael's arm, her fingers drumming against his sleeve. "I mean, we knew your brother was successful, but—" I folded the papers carefully, deliberately. "Harold built his software company from nothing, sold it 2 years before he died." My voice sounded strange in my own ears, distant. "He never married? No children? I was his only family." Ashley's eyes never left the documents in my hands. That's incredible, Robert. What a blessing for you." The word "you" hung in the air like smoke. Michael was staring at his hands, and I could see the wheels turning in his mind. Ashley's grip on his arm tightened, her nails leaving small crescents in his shirt fabric. "Dad," Michael said slowly, "you don't need all that money. I mean, at your age—" The words hit me like cold water. I looked at my son, my only child, the boy I'd raised alone after Margaret died, and saw a stranger. "What exactly are you suggesting?" I asked. Ashley leaned forward, her voice taking on that honeyed tone she used when she wanted something. "We're family, Robert. Families should support each other. And with little Emma and Jake to think about—" She gestured vaguely toward the framed photos of my grandchildren on the mantel. "Their college funds, their future. We could really use some help," Michael added weakly, not meeting my eyes. I set the papers on the table between us, my movements deliberate. "The money just became available. I haven't even decided what to do with it yet. But surely you see that sharing would be the right thing." Ashley's mask was slipping, her sweetness becoming strained. "We're young. We have dreams, plans. We could actually do something meaningful with it." The grandfather clock in the hallway chimed 9 o'clock, its deep tones marking time that suddenly felt precious. I looked at my son and his wife, really looked at them, and something cold settled in my chest. "This is an appropriate dinner conversation," I said finally. Ashley's laugh was sharp, brittle. "Money is always appropriate conversation when it affects family." Michael nodded, finding his voice again. "Ashley has a point, Dad. We've been struggling while you've been comfortable. Maybe it's time to think about your grandchildren's future." I stood slowly, my joints protesting. The papers crinkled as I gathered them. "I think we should finish cleaning up. You're staying the night, aren't you? The guest room upstairs is ready." Ashley and Michael exchanged a look. Quick, loaded with meaning I was only beginning to understand. "Of course we're staying," Ashley said. "We have so much more to talk about." I headed toward my bedroom, the documents clutched in my hand, leaving them to finish the dishes. Behind me, I heard their whispered conversation starting again, urgent and hungry. The house suddenly felt very small. I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling as the digital clock cast its green glow across the room. 11:43 p.m. 4 hours since dinner ended, and sleep felt as distant as the moon outside my window. The old house creaked around me, settling into the December cold. Above my head, footsteps moved across the guest room floor, soft but deliberate. Then voices muffled through the thin ceiling that had never been properly insulated. I tried to ignore it at first. They were married. They needed to talk. But Ashley's voice cut through the floorboards with an edge that made me sit up. "Old man doesn't deserve $15 million. My blood went cold. I held my breath, straining to hear more. "Ashley, keep your voice down." Michael's whisper was barely audible. "He's asleep, Michael. And I'm right. He's wasted his whole life being ordinary, working that boring engineering job, living in this tiny house." Her voice dripped with disdain. "We're young. We could actually do something with that money." The floorboards creaked as she paced. I pressed my ear to the ceiling, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Maybe you're right," Michael said, and those 4 words shattered something inside my chest. "He has been pretty selfish with money lately. Remember when we asked for help with the car payments? He acted like we were asking for the world." Selfish. My son called me selfish. I gripped the sheets so hard my knuckles went white. "Exactly." Ashley's voice grew stronger, more confident. "We've struggled while he's been sitting comfortable. That inheritance should be shared. We deserve it more than he does." "But how do we convince him?" Michael asked. "You saw how he reacted tonight." "Leave that to me." Ashley's tone turned calculating. "Men his age can be influenced, especially when they're lonely. And if gentle persuasion doesn't work." She paused, and I heard her sit down on the bed above me. "We have options." "What kind of options?" "Legal ones. Think about it. He's getting older, maybe not thinking as clearly. We could contest his mental state, claim undue influence from Harold. There are precedents." My hands began to shake, not from fear, but from a rage so pure it felt like ice in my veins. "I don't know, Ashley. That seems extreme." $15 million, Michael. 15 million. That's extreme wealth for someone who will probably be dead in 10 years anyway. The casual cruelty of it hit me like a physical blow. 10 years. That's all the life she figured I had left, and even that felt too long to her. "We could pay off the house, buy a new car, take that trip to Europe we've always talked about," she continued, her voice dreamy now. "Emma and Jake could go to private school. We could actually live." "What if he says no again?" Ashley's laugh was soft and dangerous. "He won't. Trust me, I know how to handle men like your father. He's been alone too long. He's vulnerable. A little guilt about not being there for his grandchildren. Some tears about our financial struggles. He'll cave." Above me, the bed springs squeaked as Michael joined her. "You really think we deserve that money more than him?" he asked. "I know we do. What's he going to do with it? Sit in this house and count it? We have our whole lives ahead of us. He's had his chance." The clock read 12:17 a.m. when their voices finally faded to whispers, then silence. I lay there until dawn broke through my curtains, processing every word, every casual dismissal of my worth, every cold calculation of my death. By the time I heard them stirring above me around 7 a.m., something fundamental had changed inside me. The loving father who had sacrificed everything for his ungrateful son was gone. In his place sat someone much more dangerous, a man with nothing left to lose and $15 million to protect. I got up and made coffee, my movements precise and methodical. The kitchen filled with the rich aroma, and I sat at my small table, waiting for them to come downstairs. They thought they knew me. They thought I was weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Steam rose from my coffee cup in the early morning light, but I couldn't taste anything. The kitchen felt different somehow, smaller, like the walls had moved closer during the night. Above me I heard Ashley and Michael stirring, their voices low and conspiratorial. I closed my eyes and let myself remember. Margaret's hospital room 10 years ago. The machines beeping their steady rhythm while I held her cold hand. She was dying, and we both knew it. But Michael had only visited twice in 3 weeks. "Take care of Michael," she'd whispered, her voice barely audible. "But don't forget to live for yourself, Robert." I'd promised her I would. Another lie I'd told myself. When Margaret died, Michael had been too grief-stricken to help with funeral arrangements. I'd chosen the casket, written the obituary, organized the service. He'd shown up in a wrinkled suit, dry-eyed, and left immediately after the burial to process with Ashley. I'd grieved alone. Before that, college. 4 years of 80-hour weeks at the engineering firm, taking every overtime shift, every weekend project. $80,000 in student loans I'd co-signed, then paid myself when Michael couldn't find steady work after graduation. He'd graduated summa cum laude and thanked his professors, his girlfriend, his study group. He'd forgotten to mention me in his speech. I'd watched from the back row, proud and invisible. 5 years ago, the house. Michael and Ashley had been renting a cramped apartment, complaining constantly about noisy neighbors and thin walls. Ashley had dropped hints about home ownership like breadcrumbs, leading me exactly where she wanted me to go. "If only we had help with a down payment," she'd sighed. "The market is so competitive." I'd liquidated my retirement investment account. $150,000, my security, my future, handed over so they could have granite countertops and a 2-car garage. Ashley had said thank you once, then immediately started hinting about furniture money. I'd continued renting my 1-bedroom place while they hosted dinner parties in their spacious home. But the daily sacrifices hurt more than the big ones. $2,000 a month in emergency loans that were never repaid. Free babysitting every weekend while they went out to expensive restaurants I couldn't afford. Grocery shopping for their family during Michael's frequent unemployment spells. Car repairs, medical bills, vacation funds. I'd been an ATM with a heartbeat. Last month, Michael had complained that my house was too small for family gatherings. Ashley had rolled her eyes at my Christmas gifts, practical things I'd saved for months to buy. "Dad always gets such boring presents," she'd told her sister on the phone, not knowing I was listening from the kitchen. I opened my eyes and calculated in my head. 35 years of sacrifice. College, the house, monthly support, emergencies, gifts, babysitting, groceries. Over $400,000. My entire savings, my retirement, my future, all given freely to a son who saw me as selfish. Margaret would be ashamed of what Michael had become, but she'd be more ashamed of me for enabling it. I'd created this monster by being too generous, by teaching Michael that love meant money, that family meant taking without giving back. Now they wanted my brother's inheritance too. $15 million they'd never earned, never deserved. The coffee had gone cold in my hands. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the photo of Margaret on the counter. Her smile looked sad in the morning light, disappointed. I heard footsteps on the stairs, Ashley's heels clicking against wood, Michael's heavier tread behind her. They were coming down for breakfast, ready to continue last night's conversation. But the man who'd overheard their plans wasn't the same man who'd raised an ungrateful son. That generous, naive father had died somewhere between midnight and dawn. In his place sat someone harder, someone who'd finally learned that love without respect was just exploitation. I took a deep breath and prepared to meet my family for what might be the last time. They thought they were coming down to manipulate a lonely old man. They were about to meet someone much more dangerous, a father who'd finally stopped giving. Ashley entered my kitchen like she owned it, her heels clicking against the linoleum with sharp precision. She'd dressed carefully, a soft blue sweater that made her eyes look innocent, her hair pulled back in a way that suggested vulnerability. She was preparing for war. "Good morning, Robert," she said, her voice honey-sweet. "You're up early?" Michael shuffled behind her, avoiding my eyes. His shoulders were hunched, defensive, like a boy caught stealing from the cookie jar. "Couldn't sleep?" I said simply, gesturing to the coffee pot. "Help yourselves." Ashley poured 2 cups, her movements graceful and deliberate. "This big house must get lonely sometimes. All these empty rooms, just you rattling around." I sipped my coffee and said nothing. We've been thinking, she continued, settling into the chair across from me, about last night, about your inheritance. Have you? Michael finally met my eyes, then quickly looked away. Ashley has some good points, Dad, about family, about sharing blessings. Ashley's hand found his arm, her fingers stroking encouragingly. We're not asking for charity, Robert. We're talking about family responsibility. You raised Michael to work hard, to build a future. But sometimes even hard-working people need help. I set down my cup with deliberate care. And what kind of help are you thinking about? Her smile widened, predatory. Well, you don't really need $15 million, do you? I mean, at your age, what would you even do with all that money? That's not really your concern? The sweetness in her voice took on an edge. But it is our concern, Robert. We're family, and family looks out for each other. Michael leaned forward, finding his courage. Dad, think about Emma and Jake. Their college funds, their future. Don't you want to help your grandchildren? I've been helping them their entire lives. I've been helping you both for decades. Ashley's mask slipped slightly. Sure, you've helped here and there. But this is different. This is real money. Life-changing money. For whom? For all of us. Her voice rose. Then she caught herself, forcing the smile back. We're young, Robert. We have dreams, plans. We could actually do something meaningful with that inheritance. I stood slowly, walking to the window that overlooked my small backyard. The December morning was gray and cold, matching my mood. You know what I think, I said without turning around. I think you both believe you deserve my brother's money more than I do. The silence behind me was deafening. That's not, Michael started. Yes, it is. I turned to face them. You think I'm too old? Too ordinary? Too boring to deserve $15 million? You think I'll just let it sit in a bank while you could be living your dreams? Ashley's composure cracked. Well, wouldn't you? What are you going to do with it, Robert? Buy a bigger house? Travel the world? You've never wanted anything. Maybe that's because I spent 35 years wanting things for my son instead. Michael flinched as if I'd slapped him. We deserve some of that money, Ashley continued, her voice hardening. We've struggled while you've been comfortable. We're the ones with young children, with futures to build. You're just going to hoard it like some old miser. Based on what do you deserve it? I asked quietly. Based on being family, she snapped. Based on being young and full of potential instead of old and useless. The words hung in the air like poison gas. Michael's eyes widened, realizing his wife had gone too far. Ashley, he whispered, but she was past caring about masks. It's true, isn't it? What's he going to do with $15 million except count it? We could actually use it. I walked back to the table, my movements calm and measured. Is that what you both think? That I'm old and useless? Michael couldn't look at me. Dad, that's not what she meant. Yes, it is. I sat down across from them. And you agree with her, don't you, son? You think you deserve your grandfather's money more than your father does. Maybe we do, Michael said quietly, and there it was, the truth finally spoken in daylight. Ashley reached across the table, her hand grasping for mine. Robert, please, think about your grandchildren. Think about their future. Don't be selfish. I pulled my hand away. Selfish? We'll contest this legally if we have to, Ashley said, desperation creeping into her voice. You're getting older, maybe not thinking as clearly. Harold might have unduly influenced you somehow. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Get out. They froze. Get out of my house. Now. Ashley's mouth fell open. Robert, you can't be serious. Pack your things and leave, both of you. Michael half rose from his chair. Dad, please, let's talk about this reasonably. There's nothing reasonable about what you're asking. There's nothing reasonable about what you think you deserve. I walked to the front door and opened it. You have 10 minutes. I watched from the window as they threw their belongings into their car. Ashley's face twisted with rage, Michael looking confused and lost. Ashley slammed her door hard enough to rattle the windows. As they drove away, Ashley's words floated back to me through their open window. This isn't over, you selfish old bastard. I stood in my empty house, surrounded by silence, and smiled for the first time in hours. They'd started a war they couldn't win. I walked to my desk and picked up my phone. scrolling through contacts until I found what I was looking for. Thompson and Associates, Legal Services. It was time to make some calls. 3 weeks of blessed silence had lulled me into believing they'd accepted defeat. I sat in my favorite armchair, reading the morning paper with my coffee steaming beside me when the doorbell shattered my peace. The man at my door wore a crisp uniform and carried a clipboard thick with official-looking papers. Robert Anderson. Yes? Legal documents requiring your signature. He held out the clipboard with practiced efficiency. Sign here, please. My hand trembled slightly as I signed. The envelope felt heavy, ominous. I watched his car disappear down the street before closing the door. Inside the envelope, legal letterhead caught the light. Petition for determination of incapacity. Stared back at me in bold letters. My vision blurred as I read further. Petitioners Michael R. Anderson and Ashley M. Anderson hereby request this honorable court to determine that respondent Robert D. Anderson lacks the mental capacity to manage his financial affairs. The words swam on the page. Dementia. Irrational decisions. Unable to manage affairs. They were trying to have me declared mentally incompetent. I sank into my kitchen chair, spreading the documents across the table with shaking hands. The court date glared at me. February 8th, 2025. Less than 3 weeks away. Attached were witness statements from neighbors I barely knew, claiming they'd observed concerning behavior and signs of cognitive decline. Mrs. Patterson from 2 houses down supposedly witnessed me talking to myself in the yard and forgetting to bring in my mail for days. I'd never spoken to Mrs. Patterson beyond polite greetings. The medical evidence came from Dr. Patricia Williams, who claimed I showed significant signs of dementia during a consultation I'd never attended. According to her report, I was confused about basic financial concepts and unable to recall recent events. My hands clenched into fists. They'd forged everything. But the cruelest blow came on page 4. Petitioners have secured respondents' assets totaling $500,000, pending this court's determination to prevent further financial harm. They'd frozen $500,000 of my money, my checking account, my savings, my investment portfolio, locked away based on lies. I read the petition 3 times, each reading stoking my fury higher. They weren't just trying to steal my inheritance. They were trying to destroy my independence, my dignity, my very identity as a competent human being. The phone felt cold against my ear as I dialed Thompson and Associates. Sarah, it's Robert Anderson. I need your help immediately. Robert, what's wrong? You sound... They're trying to have me declared mentally incompetent. I have legal documents in front of me that are complete fabrications. A pause, then Sarah's voice, sharp and professional. Don't say another word over the phone. Can you be in my office in an hour? I'll be there in 30 minutes. I gathered the documents, my hands steady now with purpose. 3 weeks ago, I'd believed the worst thing my son could do was demand my money. I'd been naive. They wanted to strip away everything that made me human. As I drove toward the law office, one thought echoed in my mind. If they wanted to play dirty, they'd just taught me the rules. But they'd made one critical mistake. They thought they were fighting a confused old man. They were about to discover they'd declared war on someone with nothing left to lose and 15 million reasons to fight back. I arrived at Thompson and Associates 15 minutes early, carrying a leather folder I'd organized through the sleepless night. Sarah Thompson's office smelled of leather and coffee, its walls lined with law books that suddenly felt like weapons in my arsenal. Show me everything, Sarah said, settling behind her desk with reading glasses perched on her nose. I opened my folder methodically. Bank statements for the past 5 years. Every transaction documented and categorized. Investment portfolios showing consistent, intelligent management. Medical records from my annual checkups. Sarah's eyebrows rose as she flipped through pages. Robert, these financial records are immaculate. Your portfolio performance is better than most fund managers achieve. Now look at their petition. She compared the documents, her expression darkening. This Dr. Patricia Williams. I've never heard of her. Let me check the medical board database. Her fingers flew across her keyboard. She's not board certified in geriatrics. She's actually a pediatrician in Tacoma. My jaw tightened. Ashley's college roommate. I remember her from their wedding. And these witness statements? Sarah pulled out a magnifying glass, examining signatures. Robert, look at this handwriting. The loops in the G's, the slant of the letters. These signatures were written by the same person. Ashley always had distinctive handwriting. Too many loops. Sarah leaned back in her chair. This isn't just a weak case, it's fraud. But we need to respond aggressively. I want you medically evaluated immediately to counter their claims. 2 hours later, I sat across from Dr. Mitchell Harrison at Spokane Medical Center. He was thorough, professional, with kind eyes that reminded me of my own father. I'm going to put you through comprehensive cognitive testing, he explained. Memory, reasoning, problem-solving, mathematical abilities, the works. The tests felt like mental gymnastics. Pattern recognition, word association, mathematical calculations, short and long-term memory assessments. I found myself enjoying the challenge, my engineering mind clicking through problems with precision I hadn't felt in years. Robert, Dr. Harrison said, reviewing my results, your cognitive function is not just normal for your age, it's exceptional. Your working memory scores are in the 95th percentile. I'd be happy to testify that you're sharper than most 40-year-olds I evaluate. Back at Sarah's office, she spread my medical results alongside the forged petition. This is beautiful, Robert. Their case isn't just weak. It's insulting to anyone with legal training. I pulled out my phone and showed her screenshots I'd taken overnight. I recorded several conversations with Michael and Ashley over the past 2 years. Washington is a one-party consent state. Sarah's eyes lit up. What kind of conversations? Ashley discussing my money, calling me selfish for not giving them more. Michael agreeing with her, talking about what they'd do with my inheritance. And the night after Christmas, I recorded them through the ceiling, planning this whole scheme. Robert, you've just handed me everything we need to not only dismiss their petition, but file criminal charges for fraud and elder abuse. She pulled out a legal pad, writing rapidly. We file a motion to dismiss with prejudice by 5 p.m. today. Tomorrow morning, we file a defamation countersuit and report the fraud to the district attorney's office. By the end of the week, they'll be begging you to forgive them. I stood to leave, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Sarah, there's one more thing. I want to call in every loan I ever made to Michael. 35 years of financial support, most of it documented as loans, not gifts. Sarah smiled, predatory and satisfied. How much are we talking about? $412,000, with interest. We shook hands outside her office building. I'll file our response by 5 p.m. today, she said. By this time tomorrow, they'll realize they picked the wrong fight. I walked to my car and pulled out my phone, scrolling to Michael's contact. My finger hovered over his number for a long moment. Then I put the phone away. Let them think they were winning a little longer. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait for them to walk into it. Returning home from the law office, I loosened my tie with deep satisfaction. For the first time in weeks, I felt in control. I went to my home office, the converted spare bedroom where I'd balanced budgets and planned projects for 30 years, and turned on my computer. The screen's glow illuminated my face as I opened a new Excel spreadsheet. At the top, I typed, Project Justice. My engineering background had taught me that every complex problem could be broken down into manageable components. This situation was no different. I needed data, analysis, and a systematic approach. I started with what I knew best. Numbers. Column A, date. Column B, amount. Column C, purpose. Column D, loan or gift. 35 years of financial support to Michael spread across the screen in neat rows. College tuition, $45,000. Living expenses during college, $35,000. Post-graduation emergency loans, $67,000. The house down payment, $50,000. Monthly support payments, $72,000 over 3 years. The total made me pause, $412,000. Nearly $500,000 I'd given to a son who now called me selfish. But the patterns were more revealing than the amounts. Every major gift was followed within months by another request. Every time I said yes, their demands grew larger. I'd been feeding an addiction to my money, and like any addiction, it required bigger and bigger fixes. I cross-referenced the dates with my calendar records. During Michael's unemployment period last year, when they'd pleaded poverty, I found evidence he'd been working construction 3 days a week. When Ashley claimed they couldn't afford Emma's school supplies, I discovered she'd posted photos of a weekend spa trip. They hadn't just been lying recently, they'd been lying for years. I opened a second spreadsheet. Vulnerability assessment. Ashley's weaknesses were obvious. Her social media presence revealed everything. A desperate need for status and approval. She posted constantly about expensive purchases, exotic vacations, designer clothes. Her entire identity was built on appearing successful to her peer group. Michael's weaknesses ran deeper. He'd never learned to stand up to anyone, especially Ashley. His construction work was seasonal and irregular. Without my financial support, their lifestyle would collapse within months. But their greatest vulnerability was their entitlement. They'd never faced real consequences for their actions. Every mistake I'd cushioned with money. Every poor decision I'd enabled with generosity. I pulled out a legal pad and began sketching my strategy in flowchart form, the way I'd planned construction projects for decades. Phase 1, Legal Defense, complete. Sarah had destroyed their incompetency petition and prepared counterattacks. Phase 2, Financial Pressure, ready. I had documentation for $412,000 in legitimate debts they owed me. Phase 3, Social Consequences, pending. Ashley's social media addiction would become her downfall when her lies were exposed publicly. Phase 4, Economic Reality, execute when ready. Without my support, their artificial lifestyle would crumble. Each phase had measurable objectives and success criteria. This wasn't revenge. It was accountability they'd never experienced. I opened Ashley's Facebook profile and began systematically screenshotting posts. Her timeline told a story of hypocrisy that would shock anyone who believed her current victim narrative. March 2024. Photos from Cabo Vacation captioned, "Living our best life," posted the same week they'd asked me for grocery money. June 2024. Ashley showing off $300 shoes, complaining about people who hoard money instead of enjoying life. September 2024. Michael's new motorcycle in the driveway, purchased during his supposed unemployment. I saved everything with timestamps, creating an evidence file that would demolish her credibility. The clock showed 10:30 p.m. when I finally closed my laptop. 3 neat folders sat on my desk. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 ready. Phase 3 pending. I picked up my phone and scrolled to Michael's number, then set it down without dialing. Not yet. Let them think they were winning a little longer. Margaret used to say I was too soft, too forgiving. She'd be proud of the man I was becoming, methodical, strategic, uncompromising. Tomorrow, Phase 2 would begin. My morning coffee was interrupted by my phone buzzing like an angry wasp. Text after text flooded in from neighbors and old colleagues. "Robert, have you seen Ashley's Facebook post? This can't be true, can it? Call me when you get this." I opened Facebook reluctantly, unprepared for what I found. Ashley's post sat at the top of my feed, already shared 47 times in 3 hours. The headline read, "Heartbroken by family elder abuse. Please share." Below it, she'd crafted a masterpiece of manipulation. Photos of empty kitchen cabinets, overdue utility bills, her children looking sad in worn clothes. The text told a story that bore no resemblance to reality, but felt emotionally devastating. My father-in-law inherited $15 million, but refuses to help his struggling family. While he hoards his wealth, my children eat cereal for dinner and worry about losing their home. He's turned his back on the grandchildren who love him, choosing money over family. Please pray for us during this difficult time. 89 comments of support and outrage had already accumulated. How could he be so heartless? Those poor babies. Money changes people. Someone should report him to social services. My hands shook as I screenshotted everything, documenting the lies with timestamps, but the damage was already spreading through our small community like wildfire. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Margaret Patterson, my neighbor for 15 years. "Robert, I don't understand what's happening with your family." "Margaret, there's more to this story than what's online. But those photos of the children, they look so thin, so sad." I closed my eyes. "Margaret, have you seen Emma and Jake recently? At the grocery store? The park?" A pause. "Well, no, but they're healthy, well-fed children. Ashley's using old photos. probably from when Emma had the flu last winter. But I could hear the doubt in Margaret's voice. The emotional manipulation was working perfectly. At the grocery store that afternoon, conversation stopped when I approached. The cashier, who'd always been friendly, avoided eye contact. My neighbor Jim crossed the street rather than acknowledge me. Ashley's narrative was spreading faster than I could counter it. Social media had weaponized gossip, turning my community against me based on carefully crafted lies. That evening, I settled in for systematic research. If Ashley wanted to fight with social media, she'd chosen the wrong battlefield. I had 30 years of engineering problem-solving skills and unlimited time to deconstruct her lies. I opened her profile history, scrolling back through months of posts. The contradictions were staggering. December 15th, 2024. Just booked our Christmas ski trip. Can't wait for family fun in Aspen. Posted 5 days before she demanded my inheritance to feed the children. November 28th, 2024. Ashley showing off her new designer handbag collection worth easily $2,000. Posted during their supposed financial crisis. October 10th, 2024. Michael's hunting photos with expensive new equipment. Captioned, "New gear for the season." Posted while they were behind on mortgage payments. I cross-referenced her posts with their requests for money, creating a timeline that exposed her hypocrisy. Every claim of poverty was contradicted by evidence of extravagant spending. But Ashley's masterpiece was her friend network, dozens of equally entitled suburban mothers who fed off drama and outrage. They shared her posts without fact-checking, adding their own embellishments to the story. "I always knew there was something off about that old man," wrote her friend Jennifer. "Rich people are so selfish," added Maria. "Those children deserve better." I screenshotted everything, building a comprehensive file of their lies and contradictions. But more importantly, I was learning the rules of their game. They thought social media was about emotions and manipulation. They were right. But they'd forgotten that every post, every comment, every share left digital fingerprints that could be traced, documented, and used as evidence. By 11 p.m., I had 47 screenshots of contradictory posts, 23 examples of financial hypocrisy, and 15 instances of outright lies about their circumstances. My phone showed 23 missed calls from community members, some concerned, others accusatory, but I didn't respond. Not yet. I opened my laptop and began typing. To my friends and neighbors. Then I stopped, deleting the words. Tomorrow would be soon enough. Let Ashley dig herself deeper first. Every lie she told, every exaggeration she shared, every manipulation she posted was ammunition for my eventual response. She thought she was winning the war for public opinion. What she didn't realize was that she was creating the evidence that would destroy her credibility completely. The trap was almost ready. I just needed her to walk a little deeper into it. The community center buzzed with unusual energy as I arrived for our monthly neighborhood association meeting. Ashley had requested this gathering focus on elder abuse awareness, her final trap, she believed. But I'd also requested 15 minutes to address recent misunderstandings. My manila folder, labeled Financial History, 1995-2025, felt substantial in my hands. Ashley had transformed the front of the room into a dramatic presentation space. Poster boards displayed blown-up photos of empty cabinets, overdue bills, and sad-looking children. Her props told a story that would move any sympathetic heart. "Thank you all for coming," she began, her voice trembling with practiced emotion. "I never thought I'd have to expose family business publicly, but when children are suffering—" 30-plus neighbors filled the folding chairs, their faces already softening with sympathy. Ashley knew her audience well. She gestured to her displays. "These photos show the reality of financial elder abuse. While my father-in-law hoards $15 million, our children eat cereal for dinner. Our electricity was nearly shut off last week." Murmurs of outrage rippled through the crowd. How terrible. Those poor babies. Something should be done. I sat quietly in the back row, taking notes, waiting my turn. "I have documentation proving everything," Ashley continued, holding up official-looking papers. "Bank statements showing his excessive wealth, while we struggle for basic necessities. Medical records proving his declining mental state. Witness statements from concerned neighbors. The performance was masterful. By the time she finished, half the room was ready to call social services on my behalf. "Mr. Anderson," said Margaret Patterson, the meeting chair, "Ashley has requested we address this serious situation. Would you like to respond?" I stood slowly, carrying my folder to the podium Ashley had just vacated. Her confident smile suggested she believed she'd already won. "Thank you, Margaret. I do have some things to share." I opened my folder with deliberate care. Ashley mentioned documentation. I've brought 30 years of financial records. Let's examine the actual facts. I spread bank statements across the display table. These show monthly transfers of $2,000 to Michael Anderson for the past 3 years. That's $72,000. The room's energy shifted slightly. Ashley's smile faltered. "This receipt shows a $150,000 down payment for Michael and Ashley's house, paid from my savings account in September 2019. More murmurs, but different now, confused, questioning. College tuition payments, $45,000. Living expenses during his education, $35,000. Post-graduation emergency loans, $67,000. I could see neighbors doing mental arithmetic, their expressions changing. The total financial support I've provided to my son and daughter-in-law over 35 years, $412,000. The silence was profound. Now Ashley mentioned social media documentation. I connected my laptop to the community center's projector. Let's look at some of her Facebook posts. Ashley's vacation photos filled the screen. Cabo beaches, expensive restaurants, designer shopping bags. The timestamps were devastating. March 15th, 2024. Living our best life in paradise. Posted the same week they requested grocery money because they couldn't afford food. Gaffes echoed through the room. June 8th, 2024. Ashley showing off $300 shoes, complaining about people who hoard money instead of enjoying life, posted during their supposed financial crisis. Ashley was on her feet. "Those posts are out of context. You're manipulating." September 20th, 2024. Michael's new motorcycle, purchased during his unemployment period when I was paying their mortgage. Margaret Patterson raised her hand. "Ashley, you told me just last week that Robert never helped financially. You said he was heartless." That's not what I meant." Other neighbors began comparing notes. "She showed me photos of her new designer purse last month." "Didn't they just renovate their kitchen?" Ashley's panic was visible now. "You're all taking his side because he has money." "No," I said quietly. "They're questioning your story because it doesn't match the evidence." Michael, who had remained silent throughout the presentation, finally spoke. "Ashley, maybe we should go." "I'm not done," she snapped. "These records could be faked. Social media can be hacked." But the room had turned. The sympathy that had flowed toward her at the beginning was now directed at me. Neighbors approached with embarrassed apologies. "Robert, we're sorry we believed. I should have asked for your side first. We owe you an apology." I packed my materials methodically, accepting their contrition with grace. The truth had done its work. As Ashley stormed toward the exit, pulling Michael behind her, Margaret approached me. "Robert, I think there's something else you should know about what Ashley's been saying around town." I looked up with renewed interest. Apparently, this wasn't over yet. Michael arrived at the construction site Monday morning to find his co-workers avoiding eye contact. The usual morning banter died when he approached, replaced by uncomfortable silence and meaningful glances. His boss, Mike Rodriguez, emerged from the office trailer with a clipboard and a grim expression. "Michael, we need to talk. My office." The trailer's plastic chairs squeaked as Michael sat down, dread settling in his stomach like cold concrete. "Look, you're a good worker," Mike began, "but we've got a problem. 3 clients have called since Friday asking for different crew assignments." Michael's mouth went dry. "What do you mean?" "They're uncomfortable with the family drama. Word spreads fast in construction circles, and that community meeting—" Mike shook his head. "Clients don't want controversy on their job sites." "Mike, I can explain." "I'm sure you can, but here's the reality. I've got a business to protect. I can offer you unpaid leave while this blows over, or—" He didn't finish the sentence. Michael's hands shook as he called Ashley from the parking lot. They basically fired me, he said when she answered. The whole neighborhood thing has spread to my work sites. Ashley's response was sharp, panicked. How is that even legal? It doesn't matter if it's legal, it's done. During his drive home, Michael felt the walls of their artificial life crumbling around him. Without his steady income, how would they maintain the lifestyle Ashley insisted upon? At home, Ashley was staring at her phone screen with growing horror. Her social media world had collapsed overnight. Friend requests withdrawn, group chat removals, former supporters now silent or openly critical. Nobody's returning my calls, she told Michael as he walked through the door. Jennifer, Maria, Susan, they're all avoiding me. She'd tried creating new posts to control the narrative, but they fell flat. Her credibility was destroyed. The community had seen the evidence, done the math, and reached their own conclusions. At the grocery store that afternoon, former friends crossed aisles to avoid her. Conversations stopped when she approached. The social isolation was complete and devastating. Back home, Ashley spread their bills across the kitchen table like a grim puzzle. Without Michael's income, the numbers didn't work. Credit card statements revealed their complete dependence on Robert's financial support, money that would never come again. We can't survive without his help, she admitted, the words bitter in her mouth. We've been living beyond our means for years. Michael stared at the evidence of their financial irresponsibility. Car payments, credit cards, the mortgage, all calculated based on Robert's consistent support. Without it, they faced disaster within months. By evening, desperation drove them to Robert's door. Their knock was tentative, uncertain. When Robert opened the door, his expression was measured, unsurprised. We need to talk, Ashley said, attempting her old manipulation tactics. I think we may have misunderstood some things. Robert stepped aside to let them enter, but his body language remained distant. Maybe we can work this out, Dad, Michael added weakly. Find some middle ground. They sat in Robert's living room like supplicants before a judge. Ashley tried tears, guilt, family obligations. Michael attempted father-son bonding and shared memories. Robert listened patiently, then responded with devastating calm. Ashley, you called me mentally incompetent. You tried to have me declared incapable of managing my own affairs. You lied to our entire community about my character. But we could drop all that legal stuff, Ashley interrupted. We just need some help getting back on our feet. I helped for 35 years. You responded by calling me selfish and senile. Michael leaned forward desperately. Dad, please. We're family. Robert's laugh was cold. Family doesn't forge documents. Family doesn't try to steal inheritances. Family doesn't humiliate each other publicly. Ashley's composure finally cracked. We'll lose everything. You should have thought of that before you decided I was too old and useless to deserve my own money. Their protests grew more frantic, their promises more desperate, but Robert remained unmoved. Finally he stood. The time for working things out has passed. You made your choice at Christmas. As they reached their car, Ashley turned back one last time. This isn't over, Robert. We know where that money came from. We know what you're really like. From his window, Robert watched them drive away. Then he reached for his phone and scrolled to Thompson and Associates. His finger hovered over the call button for only a moment. 7 days had passed since Ashley's parting threat, and I sat across from Sarah Thompson reviewing a thick legal folder marked Anderson versus Anderson Financial Recovery Action. Robert, this is the most comprehensively documented debt recovery case I've ever seen, Sarah said, spreading financial records across her conference table. 30 years of meticulous record-keeping. I'd spent the week compiling everything, every loan agreement, every promissory note, every witness signature. My engineering background had served me well. I documented their financial dependence with scientific precision. The legal basis is rock solid, Sarah continued. These weren't gifts. They were structured loans with clear repayment terms. Your son signed acknowledgments for every major transfer. The numbers were staggering. Principal amount, $280,000 in documented loans over 15 years. Interest at standard personal loan rates, $147,000. Total debt, $427,000. They challenged your mental competency, Sarah said, organizing the papers. Now they face the consequences of that decision. No judge will call this harassment after what they attempted. I nodded, feeling the satisfaction of a well-executed plan. They wanted my money. Now they can pay for what they've already received. The legal documents were prepared with ruthless efficiency. Demand for immediate payment, in bold letters. Asset attachment orders for their house and vehicles. 30-day ultimatum before forced bankruptcy proceedings. The process server will deliver these by 2 p.m., Sarah said. By tonight, they'll understand their position completely. At their home, Ashley was sorting through more unpaid bills when the doorbell rang. The uniformed man's clipboard looked ominously familiar. Ashley Anderson, legal documents requiring your signature. Her hands trembled as she signed, Michael appearing over her shoulder as she opened the envelope. $427,000? Ashley's voice cracked on the amount. Michael grabbed the papers, scanning rapidly through legal terminology he barely understood. Dad kept records of everything. Every loan, every payment, every promise to repay. They called 3 different lawyers that afternoon. Each consultation confirmed their worst fears. These appear to be legitimate promissory notes, their attorney explained. The documentation is extensive. The interest calculations are standard. Your father has legal standing to collect. Ashley paced their living room frantically. He planned this whole thing. Every dollar he gave us was a trap. No, Michael said quietly, finally understanding. Every dollar was a test. We failed. Their house equity barely covered half the debt. Their cars were worth maybe $30,000 combined. Ashley's designer possessions couldn't dent the remaining balance. The bankruptcy lawyer was blunt. You have 30 days to negotiate or face forced liquidation of assets. Your father holds all the leverage. That evening, I sat in my study reviewing the completion of my strategic plan. Sarah called with an update. Documents delivered successfully. Their lawyer has already reached out, asking about negotiation possibilities. I leaned back in my chair, thinking of Margaret's final words before she died. Take care of Michael, but don't forget to live for yourself. For 35 years, I'd forgotten that second part. I'd enabled their entitlement, funded their ingratitude, and accepted their disrespect. No more. My phone rang at 6 p.m. The caller ID showed Michael's son. I stared at the display for 3 rings, remembering Christmas dinner, remembering their midnight plotting, remembering Ashley's lies to our community. I set the phone down without answering. It stopped ringing, then immediately started it again. This time I turned off the phone entirely. Outside my window, winter was giving way to early spring. New growth was coming, but some dead wood had to be cleared away first. They'd called me senile, incompetent, selfish. They'd tried to steal my independence, my dignity, my reputation. Now they were learning the cost of underestimating a man with nothing left to lose and everything to prove. The engineering project was complete. Every calculation had been correct. The first warm day of late winter found me in my garden, planting early spring bulbs that wouldn't bloom until next year. Some things I'd learned required patience and proper timing. The sound of car doors slamming shattered the peaceful afternoon. Ashley's aggressive stride across my lawn told me she'd reached the end of her rope. We need to settle this now, she announced, Michael trailing behind her with a folder clutched to his chest. I continued planting, not looking up. Good afternoon, Ashley. Michael? Don't play games with us, Robert. $400,000. You're trying to destroy us. I straightened slowly, brushing soil from my hands. I'm trying to collect debts you've owed for years. Ashley thrust papers at me. Some of these were gifts. You said so yourself? I glanced at their documents, hastily assembled, poorly organized. When did I say that? Christmas presents, birthday money, help with groceries were documented as loans with your husband's signature. Would you like to see the original promissory notes? Michael stepped forward, his voice desperate. Dad, think about Emma and Jake. Your grandchildren will lose their home. I've been thinking about them for years. That's why I documented everything. I met his eyes directly. I planned for the possibility you'd become ungrateful. Ashley's face contorted with rage. You planned this from the beginning. I planned for accountability. I hoped it would never be necessary. Michael's shoulders sagged. Ashley, we need to stop. This isn't working. Don't you dare give up now, she snapped at him. But something had changed in Michael's expression. For the first time in years, he was looking at the situation clearly. Dad, we were wrong. completely wrong about everything. Ashley whirled on him. Michael, what are you doing? I'm apologizing to my father for 30 years of taking him for granted. Michael's voice broke. I'm recognizing that you've been manipulating both of us. I've been fighting for our family. You've been fighting for money. There's a difference. I watched my son assert himself against his wife for the first time in their marriage. The moment felt both heartbreaking and hopeful. Michael, I'm offering you a choice, I said quietly. Accept responsibility for what you owe and work out a payment plan, or face bankruptcy with Ashley. But the free money stops today. Ashley's eyes blazed with fury. Choose, Michael, him or me. Michael looked between us, his wife of 10 years and the father who'd sacrificed everything for him. The decision took longer than it should have, but when it came, it was clear. I choose what's right. Finally. Ashley's scream of rage could probably be heard 3 blocks away. Fine! Destroy each other. I won't be your servant, Michael, and I won't watch you grovel to him. She stormed to their car, throwing her folder onto the ground. Papers scattered across my lawn like fallen leaves. If you're not in that car in 30 seconds, don't bother coming home. Michael watched her engine start, her tires squeal as she reversed out of my driveway. He made no move to follow. She'll come back, he said quietly. Probably. The question is whether you'll take her back. He knelt beside me, picking up one of the spring bulbs. Can I help with the planting? I handed him a small shovel. These won't bloom until next spring. Some things take time to grow properly. We worked in comfortable silence as the sun began to set. My son, really present for the first time in decades, learning to plant seeds that required patience and faith. Dad, he said eventually, I don't know how to apologize for 35 years of selfishness. Start with today. Make different choices going forward. The debt. I'll pay every penny back. It might take years. I know you will. That's why you're here planting flowers instead of driving away with Ashley. The golden hour light made everything look possible again. A father and son working together, finally understanding what family actually meant. These bulbs, Michael said, patting soil around the last one, they're really not going to bloom until next year? Next spring. The best things are worth waiting for. He nodded, understanding the deeper meaning. Some relationships, like some plants, needed to die back to the roots before they could grow properly again. As darkness settled over my garden, I looked at the neat rows of planted bulbs and felt something I hadn't experienced in years, hope for the future. Real family love required respect, not just obligation. It demanded accountability, not just forgiveness. For the first time in decades, I had both. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.